All right, well, today I wanted to talk about why people retaliate when they feel wronged by someone. I'll be telling some stories that illustrate this point. So I remember this past year, I forgot to call my grandmom on her birthday. My grandmom lives pretty close to me, and I probably see her like once a month or so. She's like the classic, like old school German grandmom with a very thick German accent, who still lives like it's the 1940s. I just didn't have her birthday in my calendar, and I just completely forgot to give her a call and wish her happy birthday. And it's funny, but my birthday was a few months later after hers. And I remember my grandma would always call me on my birthday pretty much every year. And I realized, like, oh, she didn't call me this year. That's weird. And I remember seeing her a few months after at a family get together. And she had said to me, she's like,
You know what? I didn't call you for your birthday because you fucking forgot mine.
and I wanted you to, and she was like, and then she went on to say, she was like,
I wanted you to feel like how I felt.
and I was like, holy shit, grandma, like, what the fuck? This made me realize that when someone feels wronged by you, even if they're like your flesh and blood, like your grandma, they're just more likely to try and wrong you back in some way. And looking back, I probably should have made it a point to call her on her birthday, but I was just very busy that day, and time just kind of got the best of me, and I just had other priorities. And I think in human nature, when someone feels wronged by someone, they feel the need to get even by wronging you back, just as bad or even worse, and then they'll feel satisfied. And I guess from like an evolutionary psychology perspective, it's kind of like if a village is attacked, then they'll want to attack the other village in return. Also, back in my senior year of high school, my buddy and I had like egged this girl's house. I had dated her for a little bit, and my friend had also dated her back then as well. We were just fucking idiots back then. We would like drive around and do stupid shit all the time. And about a week after we had egged her house, I guess her and a bunch of her friends on a Friday night egged my car as well as my parents' car, and the windows in front of her house at like 1 a.m. in the morning. And I remember, I guess like the eggs hit the windows. They must have hit like my parents' window. Didn't hit mine. Maybe I'm a really heavy sleeper and I just didn't wake up. My parents like woke up like freaking out, and by the time they got outside to see what was going on, they had sped off. And I remember they like barged into my room at like 1:30 in the morning, and they were like, "Someone just egged our house. What the hell's going on?" And I was like waking up from a dead sleep, and I played it off like I didn't know what was going on. And it just goes back to the old adage of an eye for an eye, and that's exactly what happened there. And I remember my dad and I the next day cleaning the eggs off the cars, and he was like, "Who'd you piss off? Like, what did you do?" And I was like, "No, nothing. Like, I don't know what's going on." Like, I just played it off like I didn't know anything. And he had said, like, "Don't do what you did. You pissed someone off." And I just remember, like, we were just cleaning off the windows of the cars, and like it was yesterday. There was another instance where this eye for an eye is very apparent at work. I was working in a role where I was like connecting people to certain services that they needed. I had connected this family to a service that they needed at the time, and the person who was delivering the service had spent like a ridiculous and inordinate amount of time with them. They probably met with this family at least 10 to 15 times for an hour at a time, and even traveled to see this family a few times. And I guess when they visited the family in person, they had offered to take the family out to lunch, and the family got like very greedy, and like apparently the family ordered like a shit ton of food, probably for like an entire week, just trying to take advantage of the person trying to help them out with what they needed, like the service they were getting at the time. And I remember the person was pretty gracious about it and just kind of let it slide. They were pretty pissed off that this family was like ordering probably 10 times more than what they should for like a standard meal. But they were happy to do it, and they thought that this family would be like a long-term client of theirs. But shortly after, the family decided that they didn't need the service anymore and decided to leave. Basically, the family tried to use this person for as much like free stuff as possible, and basically got like a week's worth of like free lunch and dinner out of them, and basically decided that they didn't need the service anymore. And the person delivering the service felt very like betrayed because they had spent like a lot of gas money, a lot of their own money, and trying to help this family. And I guess the way that this person was measured from a metrics perspective in his job was to retain clients. And so he felt very betrayed that this family just like used him for like free lunch, free dinner, and like free information. And he wasn't getting paid for like 5 or 6 of the meetings with this family. And like he felt like he went like way above and beyond for this family, and he definitely did. And I guess he was so infuriated and like felt so betrayed that he went to his manager's manager and like did everything possible in his power and actually got it to where this family wouldn't be able to receive like any services from this company going forward. They wouldn't be able to meet in person with anyone at the company or like attend any events. Like, because this family like fucked this guy over, like he made sure that he would like fuck them over back in a way that would like kind of make it harder for them to do business at the company. And it just kind of goes back to show where if somebody feels like super wronged by you or feels wronged by someone, they're just like more likely to wrong you back and even like wrong you back even worse than what you did. Just something to keep in mind in life, because I feel like, going back to it, when someone feels wronged, I feel like they feel like they need to wrong that person back to get even. And that's just kind of how like human nature is. Kind of a crazy story. I remember back in college, or maybe it was a year after college, I was out like in my old college town with some good friends, and we were with our one buddy who was like super drunk, and he was just like, he's someone that just like kind of talks a lot of trash, especially back then. And I don't know what caused him to do this, but there was a car that was like going by the street, and he had like a red Solo cup, and he tossed it. I guess he had like beer in the cup or whatever. He like tossed it on the car, and like the beer like went down their windshield, and like it was just like crazy. And then he and I like and a couple other friends were like kind of just like running down the street. And then I guess this car like looped around the block, and then my friend, who was like being a dumbass, he still had the red Solo cup in his hand, and like this car pulled up, and like they all got out of the car, and like these were kind of like people you don't really mess with. I guess like we kind of got unlucky, but they like immediately ran up to him, was like, "Yo, what the fuck? Did you throw that in our car?" And he was just like, no, man, I know what you're talking about. He was just like, "Dude, you got the fucking red Solo cup right there. You're holding onto it." And we were just trying to like diffuse the situation and like just trying to like, say, hey, we're just like, he's really drunk. Like, don't worry about it. And then we were diffusing the situation. And then I guess one of the girls that was with them like started like shining like a flashlight in his eyes, and then the one guy just like punched him straight in the face, and then like he dropped to the floor, and like they ran off super quick, and we were all pretty drunk. But I remember one of the things that one of the guys said was like, "Oh, you fucked with our night, we're gonna fuck with your night back." Like, it was kind of crazy. But my friend ended up going to the hospital that night, and we had to pick him up at the hospital and make sure he was all right. But moral of the story is, if you don't wrong anyone, you're probably not going to be wronged most of the time. But if you do wrong somebody, just expect that they're going to wrong you back at some point. And it's just better to try to be a decent person and not fuck people over, because, it'll come back to you most of the time. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like, feel free to comment down below, and feel free to subscribe. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care.